Welcome, friends. Welcome back to the kitchen. I have a confession to make. Um, I love meatloaf. Nothing makes me happier than stopping at a mom and pop, independent, greasy spoon diner, sitting at the lunch counter, and having either a big slab of meatloaf or a hot hamburger sandwich or a hot turkey sandwich. And they're becoming more difficult to find. We've found ourselves in this time period of big chain fast casual restaurants, and some of those really simplistic mom and pop restaurants are gone, disappearing. I traveled a lot this summer. I flew all over the place. Julie and I flew to a lot of little towns, and the little greasy spoons that used to be there are now gone. So I'm gonna make a meatloaf today. And part of the inspiration for this is that I traveled all summer and I didn't get a slice of meatloaf. And I've got this jar of cowboy candy. And I sort of thought, let's combine a whole bunch of flavors with the cowboy candy in the meatloaf and see where we end up. Because this is a palette that really allows a lot of expression. You can really change your flavoring here and get something that's great. The only risk is ending up with something too dry. So I've got a couple of pounds of fairly fatty ground beef. To that, I've added a diced up onion and a diced up poblano pepper. A little more fat, a few slices of chopped up bacon. That goes in. And as often is the case out here in the kitchen, I am cooking without a net. I have never put this combination of flavors into a bowl, mixed it up, and made meatloaf. So I'm going to put about a half a can of tomato paste. I don't like it too sweet. I like my stuff a little more, like meatloaf, a little more on the savory side. I've noticed a lot of recipes lately where that would be ketchup or barbecue sauce, and we are going to use our homemade barbecue sauce towards the end. And then there'd be, a cup or 2 cups of brown sugar in there, and that's just too sweet for me. But if you want to go that sweet, that's fine. That could be ketchup. Definitely could be ketchup. These are chopped green chilies. I like that flavor. That will enhance the cowboy candy flavor. So in goes the cowboy candy, and I just took a handful of the peppers and minced them, and that's all that is. So in those go. Um, this is a seasoning mix that I'm working on. I haven't quite worked out the specifics on that spice mix yet. If you live in Canada or the United States, there is a giant multinational spice corporation that goes by Clubhouse in Canada and McCormick in the United States. The thing that I'm trying to emulate is their Tex-Mex seasoning. I'm pretty close, so probably just be easier right now if you got their Tex-Mex seasoning. I'm trying to make my own just to cut down on some of the salt. So I won't be adding salt to this mixture because I've got the bacon in there, and that's pretty salty already. And the last ingredient is some breadcrumbs. So I'm going to put in about half of what I've got there and then start mixing this up, just so that I don't spill all over the countertop. Clean hand, dirty hand. So I'm going to put in the rest of the breadcrumbs. I don't often buy grocery store pre-made breadcrumbs. I didn't have any, so I bought some, and turns out I bought the wrong ones. They have Italian seasoning, so I'm going to have a little bit of a mixed seasoning going on. And I tasted them, and the seasoning was pretty light. I think we're going to be fine. So, what's your favorite meatloaf? What's your favorite mom and pop diner to get meatloaf at? Let me know down in the comments, because I'd love to visit them. I'd love to get out there and find these places. There's a couple of, there's still a couple here in Toronto. Not that many. They've all been disappearing. I think Vesta Lunch is still around. Haven't been there in years. Gail's Snack Bar. I used to eat at Gail's Snack Bar all the time because it was right down by all of the studios. And there were days when I just could not eat another studio meal. And so I would leave the studio and go across the street or down the street to Gail's Snack Bar. Loved that place. Nothing to look at, but the food used to be really good. Okay, at this point, there's no choice. I'm gonna have to go in with both hands. I'm gonna dump this out onto this baking sheet, and we're gonna form this into a loaf. This is going to be a pretty big meatloaf. Okay, I was gonna put it on a rack on this smaller sheet. I've had limited success with the rack. I kind of like the idea of a rack because it lifts it up and it keeps the bottom from, I'm just gonna leave it where it is. It's safe where it is. I've got it shaped. I've got it formed to what I want it to look like. I'm gonna spread a little bit of barbecue sauce on top. And we'll get this in a 350-degree oven. After this has been in the oven for 15-20 minutes, I will pull it out and slather another coat of barbecue sauce on top. The oven's preheated to 350. I'm going to put it in. You want to make sure that you cook your ground beef, especially if you're buying ground beef from a grocery store pre-ground. You want to make sure that you cook it through completely. Of course, every country has their own version of what that temperature is. So follow your local guidelines. Okay, so it always cuts better the second day after it cools down.
Woo! Meatloaf. Hey, friends. Hey, Glenn.
And I probably could have done a better job of packing it together. But
It looks like you did a freeform version.
I just did freeform.
Yeah.
And the proof really, though, is what does it taste like?
That's a big...
Meatloaf is not supposed to be pretty.
No, but it always tastes so good.
Yeah. Oh. Ah. I'm digging that. That's got all the flavors I love.
Yes, and now that I've had a piece and I look at what you've got over here, I can...
Taste the
Oh,
component.
cowboy candy.
Yeah.
There's
It brings a lot of flavor. I only put... By the time it was all minced up, there was maybe 2 tablespoons of cowboy candy stuff. But it packs a lot of flavor. The bacon has kept it moist, too.
Mm-hmm. There's bacon, too. Oh, my
Yeah.
God. So much going on in that meatloaf.
Okay.
That's not, a can of soup and some meat.
No. Can of tomato soup with some ketchup on top?
Uh-huh. No.
Nope.
No, that's pretty swanky.
Nothing wrong with that.
No.
That's the meatloaf I grew up on.
That's the standard base, right? And
That's-
then, you
That's
make
the
it
one
your
I,
own.
Yeah, that's the one I grew up on, and I hold it dear to my heart because, it's what you grew up with. This is a little bit beyond that, though.
It's pretty swanky. I feel like you'll be inspired to probably make yourself another jar of that the way you're going through it.
Mm-hmm. Play with your food. Play with your flavors. Take something that can be as simple as a can of tomato soup and some ground beef and play with it. Don't be afraid. If you like a certain set of flavors, they're probably going to work in something like this. I'm going to devour that. Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.